I had just transmigrated into the life of a wealthy live-in son-in-law when Sophia from the Taylor Group tossed me a black card. There's $500,000 on it. You and Liam go quietly to Creek Valley Village for a few months. Noah is back. Her tone was like she was clearing out an expired luxury item. My 5-year-old son Liam clung to my leg, eyes sparkling, and asked, "Daddy, does $500,000 mean we can invite all the pretty ladies in Creek Valley to come play with me?" I smiled and pinched his cheek, then saluted Sophia. "I guarantee I'll complete the mission, Miss Taylor." She froze, probably expecting me to cry or beg. Instead, I took my son, packed 2 suitcases that same day, and left faster than anyone. What a joke. $500,000 startup capital, paid leave, and a lively little son thrown in with it. I couldn't have begged for a deal like this in my past life. 3 months later, she probably finally remembered us and arrived at Creek Valley Village with her white knight painter, Noah. Greeting her was me, driving the newly bought Raptor pickup, hauling a load of top-tier craft beer. And sitting in the passenger seat was my son, shouting at the village's pretty veterinarian, "Olivia, your dimples look like cherries. Can I taste one?" Sophia looked at the 2 big characters, Niobe, printed on my t-shirt, and at the shocked expression on her white moonlight face, and for the first time, she lost her composure. Ethan, in my previous life, was a top doctoral in animal nutrition who, having just received a Nobel Prize nomination, died from excessive excitement. When I opened my eyes again, I had become a wealthy family's live-in son-in-law with the same name, and was a freeloader good for nothing except my face. Just as I was worrying about how to get out of this utterly undignified relationship, Sophia from the Taylor Group gave me a huge surprise. She was dressed in a bespoke suit, so immaculate she looked like a mannequin, and she tossed a black card onto the coffee table. "There's $500,000 on this." Her voice, like her, was devoid of warmth. "You and Liam are to go live in the old house in Creek Valley for a few months. Do not come back without my permission." She paused, then added, "Noah is back." Noah, the artist white moonlight she couldn't stop thinking about. So the real person has returned. I, the substitute live-in son-in-law, should get out. I was ecstatic, almost ready to perform a backflip on the spot. $500,000. Paid leave. And they even throw in an extra cheap son. This outrageous wealth has finally fallen to me. I was about to speak when the little charm at my feet, Liam, spoke first. He clung to my thigh, tilted his small face up, and in a babyish voice asked Sophia, "Mommy Sophia, is $500,000 worth more than your kisses?" Sophia's pretty face froze in an instant, a crack appearing between her brows and eyes. My heart skipped a beat, afraid this brat would ruin my startup funds. I immediately covered Liam's mouth, made faces at him, then put on an excessively ingratiating smile. "All right, Miss Taylor." "No problem, Miss Taylor." "I'll make sure to complete the task, Miss Taylor." Sophia looked at me, limp as I was, her eyes full of even deeper contempt. But she also seemed inexplicably puzzled and irritated by my overly submissive attitude. She didn't want to look at me again, saying coldly, "Disappear from in front of me by the end of today." Got it. I grabbed Liam and turned to go upstairs. 5 minutes later, I came down pulling 2 suitcases, moving with the efficiency of a professional mover. I didn't even spare her a glance as I passed by. "Dad, aren't we waiting for Mom Sophia?" Liam asked quietly. "No, we won't. Your mother is busy receiving an important guest. We're going to welcome our new life." I walked out the villa gate dragging my son without looking back, my retreating figure too dashing to look like an abandoned live-in son-in-law. Behind me, Sophia stood in the empty living room, for the first time feeling a twinge of doubt about the decision she had made. On the intercity train to Creek Valley Village, Liam excitedly mapped out a grand plan for the $500,000 in my arms. "Dad, let's first use $100,000 to invite all the pretty girls in Creek Valley to come play with me. Then use another $100,000 to buy up all the ice cream and chocolate. The remaining $300,000. Consider your dowry." I pinched his chubby cheek and smiled. "You're so promising." I watched the city fly past outside the window and felt the rush of freedom in the air. $500,000, a top-tier PhD in animal nutrition, an old house in a valley village. A grin split my face all the way to my earlobe. Sophia, in your white moonlight, Noah, just you wait and see. The old house in Shigu village was even more rundown than I had imagined. Half the courtyard wall had collapsed. The roof let in light, and a musty, long-standing damp smell hit me. Liam was so excited he was like a runaway husky, chasing the old hen all over the yard. Daddy, this chicken runs so fast. Can we have roast chicken tonight? I shook my head helplessly and began cleaning up this future base. Just as I dragged the mildewed quilt outside to air, a strong scent of malt mixed with yeast drifted over. I followed the scent to the courtyard wall and saw that next door was a fairly large craft brewery, Miller's Craft Brewery. A few workers were carrying a big barrel, pouring a full tub of fragrant, viscous liquid into the ditch beside them. Brewer's mash. My eyes lit up instantly. What others see as waste, I see as treasure. Rich in yeast, protein, and various trace elements, an excellent animal feed. A wild plan quickly took shape in my mind. Feed the cows with brewer's grains and craft beer. Raise cattle comparable to Japan's top Wagyu. Beer-fed cows. The world doesn't yet have this breeding technique. Once successful, I will possess unique top-grade beef. Its value won't be something a mere $500,000 can measure. Said and done. I first went to Shigu village to inquire and learned that the village's only veterinarian was a young woman who had just returned from agricultural college, named Olivia. I carried 2 bottles of good beer sent by the brewery and, with Liam, went to her door. Olivia was bandaging the wound of a small native dog. When she saw me, her brows furrowed slightly. She wore a simple white t-shirt and jeans, barefaced, yet exuding a clarity like a mountain spring. Is there something you need? Her tone was distant. She clearly regarded me as one of those city people who come to Shigu village out of curiosity. I explained my purpose, saying I wanted to consult about local cattle breeds and vaccination issues. When I mentioned the raising cows on beer plan, she laughed outright. Mr. Johnson, do you think raising cattle is child's play? A cow's digestive system is very delicate. Feeding them the wrong things can kill them. Her eyes were full of ridicule, as if thinking a pampered city pretty boy with delusions. I was about to explain when Liam wriggled free from my arms and, scampering on his short legs, ran up to Olivia. He grabbed hold of Olivia's thigh, tilted his face up, his eyes sparkling. Big sister Olivia, you look just like the fairy from my dream. Did you come to take my dad back to heaven? Olivia was stunned by this sudden gush of praise, her cheeks flushing instantly. She tried to keep a stern face, but the corners of her mouth involuntarily lifted. Little brat, such a sweet mouth. She was amused and exasperated, her attitude clearly softening. I struck while the iron was hot and took from my bag the proposal I had written overnight. Olivia, the veterinarian, this is not a flight of fancy. I handed her the proposal. It contains detailed nutritional ratios, microbial fermentation data analysis, and feed adjustment plans for different stages. I need your professional support to ensure the entire plan is foolproof. Olivia took the proposal skeptically. At first she examined it with scrutiny, and the more she read, the graver her expression became. From suspicion to surprise, and finally to utter shock. She suddenly looked up at me, her eyes filled with disbelief. These figures, how did you calculate them? This is practically a top-tier academic paper. I gave a faint smile. I used to do this. Olivia's look toward me changed completely, from seeing a pretty face to seeing an industry expert. She took a deep breath. What do you need me to do? Help me find reliable cattle sources, arrange leased land, and handle the follow-up epidemic prevention work. Okay, she agreed briskly. My dad, Thomas Reed, is the village head of Creek Valley. I'll handle the land. I also have connections for cattle sources. Done. That night, I bought all the spent grain from Miller's Craft Brewery at a low price and even became drinking buddies with the owner, Robert Miller. Watching Liam sprawled out on the rickety bed, my entrepreneurial passion burned like the fermentation tank at the neighboring brewery. Dropping $500,000 makes a big splash. In less than a month, a modern ecological ranch rose from the wasteland at the east end of Shigu Village. I gave it a bold name, Little Titan Ranch. Liam was very pleased with the name, hands on his hips at the ranch gate declaring, "I am the little tyrant." I changed out of my suit, put on work pants and rain boots, and every day I was either in the cowshed or on my way to the cowshed, massaging the cows, playing Mozart, and mixing a special feed that smelled faintly of beer. I was busier than ever, feeling energized from head to toe. The gossip in Shigu Village spread. That rich wastrel from the city really treats money like nothing. Feeding beer to cows, unheard of. Sooner or later you'll drunk them all to death. See, in less than 3 months you'll be crawling back to the city in tears. I just laughed those remarks off when they reached my ears. But Liam wasn't having it. He stood with his hands on his hips on the ridge, shouting at the gossiping aunties. "My dad is giving Ñoño a SBA. You don't understand high society." The villagers burst into laughter at his antics, and the gossip died down considerably. This kid had practically become the chief public relations minister of my ranch. He also became Olivia's shadow. Every day, he unfailingly went to Olivia's veterinary station to inspect the work. "Big sister Olivia, I picked this foxtail grass for you to show my wobbly love." "Big sister Olivia, Ñoño's mood report today. A plus because it saw you." Olivia was overjoyed by his coaxing and became increasingly attentive to the ranch, almost treating it as her own triet. Meanwhile, several hundred kilometers away in Huzhou City, Sophia finally remembered me and her son. She sent her all-purpose assistant James to reconnoiter the enemy. James drove a Mercedes that looked out of place on the country lane and cautiously parked at the ranch gate. What he saw was, I'm wearing work clothes spotted with mud, repairing the fence that the cows had broken with Olivia, laughing brightly. Liam is rolling in the mud, turning himself into a little mud man, his laughter carrying far. James's worldview is shaken. That Mr. Johnson, who in his impression always followed Miss Taylor, taciturn and utterly inconspicuous. How could he seem like a different person? He took a few photos and went back to report to Sophia. Miss Taylor, Mr. Johnson, and the young master seem to be doing a team-building event in Creek Valley Village. The atmosphere is very lively. Sophia looked at the photos. The man smiling without a care and that dirty little son, and listened to her assistant's baffled report. Her brow tightened. Team building? She couldn't understand it at all. The two people she had exiled, weren't they supposed to be miserable, living each day like a year? What right did they have to be so happy? On my side, the first batch of experimental cattle was already beginning to show results. They were fat and strong, their coats glossy and shiny, and their spirits were excellent. After testing with her instruments, Olivia grabbed my arm excitedly. "Ethan, it's a success. The meat quality indicators are better than any cattle I've ever seen." She looked at me, her eyes shining. "I've decided I want to take a stake with my technology." I looked at all the vibrant life before me and felt an unprecedented sense of fulfillment. This is the life I want. While my son and I were having a great time in Shigu Village, Sophia was going through a romantic disaster. After her white moonlight Noah returned to the country, he launched a grand pursuit of her. Day 1, in front of the Taylor Group headquarters. Hundreds of drones formed a giant heart in the sky, below which the large characters read, "Sophia, I'm back." The spectacle was magnificent, drawing countless onlookers taking photos, and it directly caused traffic on the main CBD thoroughfare of Huzhou City to be paralyzed for 3 hours. Sophia was called in by the traffic police for questioning and made the day's top social news headline. She sat in the office, so furious her face went pale. The next day, she was holding an important meeting with investors. The conference room door was suddenly pushed open. Noah walked in wearing a white tailcoat and carrying a violin. He looked at Sophia with deep affection and began to play Salat d'Amour. The melodious violin sounded particularly out of place in the solemn meeting room. The investor across the table looked stunned, as if he'd walked onto the wrong set. In the end, A cooperation intention worth $100 million was scared away by the sound of the chime. Sophia nearly crushed the fountain pen in her hand. On the third day, Noah booked the most expensive French restaurant in the city. He covered the floor with 9,999 red roses and lit over 100 scented candles, all just to share a dinner of the soul with Sophia. As a result, Sophia was severely allergic to pollen, had difficulty breathing on the spot, and was taken to the hospital by ambulance. Noah followed her to the hospital, sat at her bedside, holding a book of poems and reciting the love poems he had written for her. "Oh, Sophia, your beauty takes my breath away. Your illness is like a knife cutting into the depths of my heart." Sophia's head ached as if it would split. She just wanted to pull out the four and make him get out. She returned home utterly exhausted in body and mind. The vast mansion that once made her feel so in control now felt empty and cold. For some reason, she found herself thinking of Ethan. In the past, when she entertained late into the night and came home no matter how late, that man would always quietly leave a bowl of warm late-night food for her, then disappear without a sound. No extra words, no suffocating romance, only a perfectly measured quiet. She irritably unlocked her phone and flipped to the photos James had taken. In the pictures, Ethan and Liam were laughing without a care in the mud, and standing beside them was the Valley Village vet named Olivia. A nameless rage surged up in her chest. Who do they think they are? How do they get to be so happy? At that moment, Noah sent a message. "Sophia, can you feel it? My love surrounds you tightly like a flame." Sophia went black in the eyes and threw her phone hard onto the sofa. She needed to catch her breath. She told herself she was only worried that Liam was learning bad things in Creek Valley Village, that his upbringing was going wrong. Yes, that was it. She picked up the phone and called James. "Prepare the vehicle. We're going to Shigu Village." After 3 months of waiting, the first beer cow could finally be butchered. To make a name for myself, I decided to hold a grand whole cow feast to entertain the villagers of Shigu Village, as well as Robert Miller from Miller's Craft Brewery and Olivia's friends. A huge charcoal grill was set up on the ranch's lawn. I changed into a chef's uniform and took the knife myself. Butchering, sectioning, deboning. My movements were professional and brisk, flowing like water, dazzling everyone around. The beef, marbled with fat and lean and showing beautiful marble patterns, was sliced into thick pieces and placed on grill. Sizzle. Beef tallow dripped onto the charcoal, instantly sparking a plume of white smoke as a bold, intoxicating milky aroma spread through half of Shigu Village. The villagers, who had never seen such a scene, craned their necks one by one, mouths watering. The first batch of grilled tomahawk steaks was brought to the table. A daring villager, half skeptical, cut off a small piece and put it into his mouth. The next second, his eyes widened like copper bells. "Oh my, is this beef? How does it melt in the mouth? This milky aroma, it's incredible." With the first person having tried it, the others also began to dig in. For a moment, the lawn was left with nothing but rising and falling exclamations and the sound of chewing. None of them had ever eaten such delicious beef in their lives. Liam held up a grilled short rib larger than his face and, like a little king standing on the table, loudly declared, "From now on, if you want to marry a girl from Shigu Village, the bride price is my dad's beef. If you can't afford it, don't bother coming." The entire room burst into laughter. The atmosphere reached its peak. Among the friends Olivia had invited was a well-known Hujo gourmet, George. After his first bite of beef, he fell into a long silence. After a while, he set down his knife and fork, walked over to me with a serious expression. "Mr. Johnson, your cow. I'll offer $100,000, and I'll take the next one too." I shook my head. "Sorry, my cows are not sold individually." I wiped my hands and announced loudly to everyone, "My Little Titan Ranch only offers the highest-end ranch chef's dinner, custom private events, $18,000 per person, 10 people per table, reservation required 1 month in advance." At these words, the whole room erupted. $18,000 a person? For a beef meal? That's faster than robbing a bank. George's eyes lit up, and he immediately took out his phone. I'm booking it. The first show next month. Without a word, he directly transferred an $180,000 deposit. Afterwards, he photographed that piece of raw beef whose marbling was nothing short of a work of art, and a side profile shot of me focused on grilling, and posted a social update. The caption read, "Between mountains and fields, hidden talents abound. The best beef I've ever eaten in my life, bar none." This social post was like a bomb, quickly exploding through Huzhou's top circles of wealthy elites and foodies. My phone immediately blew up, full of calls wanting to book the banquet. At this moment, Sophia was at a high-end business dinner. At the table, all the big shots were discussing the mysteriously sudden beer cattle ranch, each forwarding George's post. Sophia's business partner handed her the phone. "Miss Taylor, look at this. They say it's so good it'll make your soul leave your body. The location is in Shigu Village, Huzhou City. Shall we go try it together sometime?" Sophia absent-mindedly took the phone. When she saw the man in the photo, focused, confident, sweat tracing his jawline, she froze. The man in the picture had bright, powerful eyes and exuded a kind of captivating radiance she had never seen before. It was Ethan. The useless live-in son-in-law, Ethan, whom she had sent away with $500,000. Her mind went blank, leaving only shock and disbelief. Sophia and Noah arrived at the entrance to Creek Valley Village almost simultaneously. She drove her Cullinan, proud like a queen inspecting her domain. Noah, on the other hand, was driving a massive RV covered in Van Gogh sunflowers, like a traveling circus. Then, the two luxury vehicles were simultaneously blocked by a big machine parked across the road. It was a brand new red tractor, its trailer loaded with the villagers' melons, fruits, and vegetables from Shigu Village. I jumped down from the tractor and shouted toward the convoy behind me, "Folks, get on. I'll take everyone to Shigu town to sell vegetables." The villagers climbed into the truck bed in high spirits. Sophia honked the horn, her face ashen. Only then did I act like I was just noticing her. I chewed a blade of grass, walked over, and knocked on her car window. "Oh, Miss Taylor honored us with your presence. What brings you here?" The t-shirt I was wearing with the big letters NVB on it made her eyes hurt. Before she could speak, Noah rushed out from the RV behind. He thought Sophia had come to Creek Valley Village specifically to find him, to experience country life and inspire his creativity. "Sophia, look at this land. It's full of primordial vitality. My muse." He spread his arms, as if embracing the sky. I ignored him and said to Sophia, "The road is too narrow. Your car can't get through. Walk." Then I started the tractor and drove off amid a chorus of laughter, leaving them with a cloud of dust. Sophia and Noah, two glamorous city folk, could only gingerly pick their way along the muddy country path. When they reached the ranch, the sight froze them both. I was standing side by side with Olivia in the sunlight, fixing a wooden fence. Olivia's hair had been tousled by the wind. I reached out and naturally tucked the stray strands behind her ear. A flush rose on her face and she smiled, lowering her head. Liam sat on the small stool beside them, a wrench in one hand and a screwdriver in the other, shouting like a foreman, "Come on, Dad. Come on, Sister Olivia." The scene was as harmonious as a painting, so warm it hurt to look at. Sophia felt as if something had stabbed her heart fiercely. Liam was the first to see them. He jumped down from the bench and ran over. But instead of diving into Sophia's arms as before, he stopped 3 steps away and, polite yet distant, called out, "Hello, Miss Taylor." Then, curiously studying Noah, he said, "Uncle, your car looks like it's from a circus. Are you here to perform fire breathing for us?" Noah was overjoyed at the words and grabbed Liam's shoulders. "Kid, you have an artistic eye. I can feel the untamed spirit deep in your soul." Sophia's face was as dark as the bottom of a pot. She stepped forward and, looking down at me, demanded, "Ethan, is this how you raise a child? Letting him roll in the mud all day? Letting him become so uncouth?" I wiped the sweat from my hands and lazily leaned against the fence. "Report, Miss Taylor." Authoritative studies show that playing with mud helps boost children's immunity and supplements trace elements. As for manners, he's very polite to everyone he meets now. I think it's quite good. I gave her a once-over. Miss Taylor, want to try it too? It's very stress-relieving. I looked at Noah beside her, asking rhetorically, "And who is this?" Noah immediately stepped forward, adopting the stance of a rival in love, and with a tone of claiming ownership said, "I'm here to take Sophia and her soul away from you worldly people." I nodded, indicating I understood. Then I said to Liam, "Liam, this uncle likes unconventional things. Go show him our farm's least conventional cow manure organic fertilizer fermentation pit." Liam's eyes lit up. He grabbed Noah's hand and ran off. "Uncle, come quick. I'll take you to see the Golden Mountain." Sophia stood frozen in place, trembling with rage. Sophia probably believed there was no problem in the world that money couldn't solve. If there was one, it was that there wasn't enough money. She took a checkbook out of her Hermes bag, scribbled a string of numbers, tore it off, and handed it to me. "This is $10 million. Close down this lousy ranch and come back with me." Her tone was still that condescending, patronizing sort. I didn't reply. I just pointed to a bull not far away, leisurely grazing. "See that stud bull? Australian purebred Wagyu. I just spent $8 million buying him back from an auction." I smiled and looked at her. "Your $10 million isn't enough to cover its beer and food for 1 year." Sophia was so dumbstruck by my words that she couldn't speak. The hand holding the check froze in midair, extremely embarrassed. For the first time, defeat and bewilderment appeared on her face. All along, money had been her weapon for measuring and solving everything, but with me, it suddenly failed. Noah at the side saw this and thought it was his moment to shine. He quickly opened his sketchbook, took out his brush, and in a knightly pose said to me, "Vulgar merchant, you are not worthy of having Sophia. I challenge you to a duel. Let's have a drawing contest. Whoever can paint the broken yet noble beauty deep within Sophia's soul will win her." I happened to take a skewer of freshly grilled beef kidneys off the rack, sprinkled with cumin and chili powder, the aroma wafting everywhere. I handed the beef kidneys to him. "Have a bite before we start drawing? You look pale, pretty weak." Noah's nose twitched involuntarily, his Adam's apple bobbing up and down. He righteously declared, "I won't be bought by your sordid money," while honestly accepting the beef kidney and taking a big bite. Smells really good." Amid this absurd standoff, a tremendous roar approached from afar. A helicopter slowly descended and landed on the clearing of the pasture. The cabin door opened, and an elderly man in a tang suit, spry and vigorous, stepped down flanked by several bodyguards. He was the titan of the national catering industry, Mr. Arthur Lewis. He got off the plane and walked straight toward me, laughing heartily as he grasped my hand. "Ethan, my young friend, I flew all the way from the capital just to taste your legendary beer beef. By the way, let's talk about an exclusive partnership." I smiled and led him into a nearby pavilion, brewed some fine tea, and began discussing a multi-billion-dollar deal. Outside the pavilion, Sophia and Noah stood in place like two background props forgotten by the world. One held a check for tens of millions of dollars. The other still had half a skewer of beef kidneys hanging from his mouth. They watched me chat and laugh with the catering tycoon as if we were from two different worlds. Noah finished eating the beef kidney, and suddenly inspiration struck. He shouted excitedly, "I get it. True art comes from life, from a most primal life force." He grabbed his easel and ran toward the cow sheet. He was going to paint cows. He had completely forgotten the original reason he came here, Sophia. Noah settled down on the ranch. He believed that only by closely observing the cow's joys and sorrows could he depict the power of life. A few nights later, I was woken by the urgent ring of the phone. It was the village head, Thomas Reed, calling, his voice sounding different. "Ethan, bad news. Your cows have gotten loose. The whole village is in chaos." My heart sank, and I dashed out of the room. At the ranch, the main barn had its gate wide open, the fence ajar, and inside it was completely empty. The ones kept in that pen are the dozen or so core breeding bulls I spent a fortune to bring in. Each is worth millions of dollars and, moreover, the culmination of all my research data and efforts. My blood ran cold. Shigu village had already erupted into chaos. The herd was spooked and stampeding wildly through the village. Anjang's cornfield was left a complete mess from being chewed up. Grandpa Lee's courtyard wall was knocked down by a bull. Chickens flew and dogs scattered. The bull's bellows and people's cries blended together. Villagers were woken in the middle of the night and thought it was an earthquake. Olivia hurried over when she heard the news, and when she saw the empty cattle shed, her face went pale. What do we do? This isn't just an economic loss. The cows are spooked and running wild. If they hurt someone, it'll be a disaster. I was about to arrange people to go look when I saw Noah in a bathrobe, clutching his sketchbook, running over from a distance with an excited expression. Sophia followed behind him, looking panicked as well. Ethan, look at my drawing. I captured it. The moment they run toward freedom, that wild tension. It's so beautiful. Noah held up his drawing to me. It was a rough sketch of several cows breaking out of a fence. I looked at his face, flushed with excitement. That innocent yet proud expression, and a burst of anger shot straight to my temples. I've never been this angry in my life. Did you do this? My voice was as cold as ice. Yes. Noah spoke fluently. I saw them locked in the pens, their eyes full of a longing for freedom. Their souls shouldn't be imprisoned. I was just liberating their nature. Sophia was also disturbed. When she saw the mess before her and Noah, who had caused such a disaster without any awareness, she felt genuine anger and disappointment toward him for the first time. Noah, do you know what you've done? Noah still looked innocent. I just wanted to help them. I stared at him intently and said, word by word, you didn't liberate nature. You liberated my tens of millions of dollars in assets and the safety of the entire village. Crisis erupted in an instant. This was the biggest challenge I faced after arriving in Shigu village. Confronted with this sudden disaster, I surprisingly calmed down quickly. Getting angry wouldn't solve anything. I immediately took out my phone, opened a foreign GPS app, pulled up the special feed formula, and had Robert Miller of Miller's Craft Brewery mix it right away to use as bait. All the cows have been implanted with chips. I have their locations, but the area is vast. We'll need to split up to search. Just as I was about to assign tasks, Sophia walked over. She slipped off her high heels, put on flats, and the arrogance that used to be on her face was gone, replaced only by gravity. I'll take charge of coordinating. She truly lived up to being the CEO of a major conglomerate, immediately displaying astonishing management skills. She connected my computer to the drone, launched it for aerial reconnaissance, and projected a map of the entire Creek Valley village onto the wall. A team goes to the east foothills, B team to the west riverbank. C team searches along the village main road. Each team is equipped with a walkie-talkie and will report their position at any time. She methodically divided the panicked villagers into several small groups, working with extreme efficiency. All along, she had been commanding legions on the business battlefield. This was the first time she was directing villagers to round up a herd of cattle. Noah, who had caused the trouble, felt deeply guilty. He wanted to help, but was at a loss. Suddenly, he remembered something and made use of his photographic memory and drawing talent. Wait, I remember them. I drew them all. He took out a sketchbook and quickly drew the distinguishing features of each missing cow. This one has a birthmark on the left hip that looks like Picasso's profile. That one has a tuft of white hair on its forehead shaped like a question mark. Those peculiar descriptions actually helped the villagers accurately identify their targets in the dark. Olivia, Sophia, and I formed a core team, and based on the cattle's habits, concluded that the lead bull might be hiding near the water source on the back mountain. The three of us shone our flashlights and felt our way up the mountain, one misstep at a time. Sure enough, by a small stream we found that most expensive lead bull. It was anxiously pawing the ground with its hooves, extremely agitated, and we couldn't get anywhere near it. At this critical moment, Noah arrived out of breath. Seeing the scene, he said nothing, reached into his bag, and took out a small violin. He played an incredibly soothing lullaby to the raging bull. something strange happened. As the melodious chime music played, the cow actually gradually calmed down and finally lay down on the grass. We were all stunned. At that moment, art, in a bizarre way, solved the greatest problem. By dawn, with everyone's concerted efforts, all the cattle had been safely recovered, without a single casualty. Everyone was exhausted and collapsed on the grass. Sophia, ignoring her image, sat on the ground. Looking at the pasture bathed in the morning light and the herd she had recovered, she felt, for the first time after that teamwork, a genuine sense of accomplishment and satisfaction from the bottom of her heart. I saw her holding a towel, awkwardly wiping the mud off a calf. At that moment, I looked at her profile. My expression was somewhat complicated. After that incident, Sophia completely saw through Noah's impractical romanticism, and she also looked at me with entirely new respect. She had a long talk with Noah. The next day, Noah came to me with dark circles under both eyes and said he had decided to stay in Creek Valley Village, to heal in the pain of art and seek new inspiration. As for Sophia, she apologized to me with a seriousness unlike anything before. "I'm sorry. What happened before was my fault." Then she made a request that surprised me. "I want to stay, as a way to make up for my mistake." I looked at her for a long time and agreed. Fine. The ranch just happens to be short of a general hand. So, the billionaire president of the Taylor Group began her husband-chasing internship at Little Titan Ranch. The first task I assigned her was cut grass and feed the cows. The next day, she showed up at the barn in a brand new set of outdoor sportswear, wearing a pair of limited edition Hermes rubber shoes. She even made a PowerPoint to analyze and plan the optimal route for mowing and time management. As a result, she barely got 3 minutes into the field before being frightened by a grasshopper in the grass and screaming as she ran out. At noon, she wanted to show off her skills and cook lunch for me and Liam to demonstrate her virtue. Instead, the frying pan caught fire and almost burned down my kitchen. In the end, I was the one who rushed in to put out the fire, and I also made 3 dishes and a soup. At the dining table, Liam took out a little notebook and solemnly scribbled and doodled in it. "Sophia, Mom, today's performance, minus 10 points. He pushed the notebook towards Sophia. "The reason is, you almost made it so my dad and I couldn't eat today." Sophia's face flushed red and then turned pale. She wasn't convinced and tried again to get involved in managing the ranch. She stayed up all night and produced a 100-page Little Titan Ranch 5-year strategic development plan and risk control report. I took it, flipped through 2 pages, and gave it back to her. Well summarized, but useless. I told her, my strategy has only 3 lines. Make the cows happy, make the customers satisfied, and make our partners pay me on time. Sophia was choked up again, clutching the report she'd poured her heart into, feeling deeply defeated. But she did not give up. She took off her Hermes rubber shoes, put on ordinary Liberation shoes, and really started learning to cut grass and clean the cow sheet. After a few days, her well-maintained hands, even with diamonds set on her nails, had developed several blisters. That night, I saw her in so much pain she could barely steady the chopsticks, yet she didn't say a word. Late at night, after waiting for her to fall asleep, I took the ointment and quietly slipped into her room. She slept deeply, her brow still slightly furrowed. I gently took her hand and carefully applied medicine to the scraped areas. I thought I had done it without anyone noticing. The next morning, Liam ran up to Sophia and took out his little notebook again. "Mom, Sophia, your performance last night, plus 5 points." Sophia was stunned. "I didn't do anything last night?" Liam leaned close to her ear and said mysteriously, "Because Dad secretly liked your post last night. I saw it." Sophia snapped her head up and looked at me. I was calmly sipping my porridge. Her face flushed bright red in an instant. Just as life on the ranch was getting livelier and my relationship with Sophia was becoming more and more delicate, a real business crisis quietly arrived. My beer-fed beef model was noticed by a large food conglomerate, Great Food Group. Flush with cash, they essentially pixelated my model and launched a cheap version of beer-fed beef, then used their powerful capital and distribution channels to wage a brutal price war. Although the quality of Great Food Group's beef was far inferior to mine, their price was only 1/10 of mine. They quickly captured the mid to low-end market and even began to encroach on my high-end customers. Some of the restaurants I work with are starting to waver. The villagers who first invested in the Valley Village are also panicking, coming to me every day asking what to do. For the first time, I felt the immense pressure of capital crushing everything. I can guarantee the highest quality, but I cannot compete on price with a commercial empire. Just as I was up all night studying countermeasures, at a complete loss, Sophia pushed the door and walked in. She didn't offer any comforting words. Instead, she slapped a document down on my desk. It was a detailed competitor analysis report, even more professional than what I had paid a consulting firm to produce. Their Achilles heel is that their supply chain and quality cannot be standardized. There was a light in Sophia's eyes that was both familiar and strange to me. She was not the clumsy intern, but a strategic business empress. We can't compete with them on price. That's asking for death. She proposed an extremely bold plan. Abandon the mass market. We in Great Food Group aren't in the same league. We'll set up a brand new company called Ethan and Sophia Cattle Company. We'll focus only on the very top of the pyramid, build a membership system and beef futures, and turn beef into a luxury good. I'll be in charge of technology and quality, building an uncopyable technological barrier. She'll handle capital operations and brand marketing, taking our brand international. I looked at her. For the first time, I saw the shadow of a partner in her. Okay, I said only one word. During that period, we almost every day argued late into the night over the details of a proposal. In the office, she and I, one representing ultimate product idealism, the other representing top-tier business thinking, clashed fiercely yet shared a strange, wonderful rapport. She used her connections to get the brand story of Ethan and Sophia Cattle Company on the cover of an international top culinary magazine. At her suggestion, I applied for more than a dozen breeding patents, building an unfathomable moat. We even teamed up to stage a setup. We deliberately leaked the news that we had cultivated a new high-yield cattle breed. Then, through a third party, had Great Food Group pay a high price to acquire a batch of the inferior cattle breeds we had discarded for genetic defects. A month later, Great Food Group's cheap-ear cattle were exposed for a quality crisis. Their reputation plummeted, and their stock price plunged. And our Ethan and Sophia Cattle Company became an instant legend, synonymous with top-quality beef. At the celebration banquet, everyone got drunk, singing and dancing on the ranch lawn. I walked over to Sophia, who was sitting alone in the corner, and handed her a bottle of beer. Thank you. For the first time, I told her those 3 words so sincerely. She took the beer, her eyes a little red. We're partners, aren't we? She said with a smile. Under the moonlight, we clinked our bottles. The ice cubes seemed to be melting. After the crisis, Ethan and Sophia Cattle Company became widely known, and orders were booked for the next year. Life on the ranch returned to its former calm and bustle. Noah found his artistic second spring in Creek Valley Village, chasing chickens every day to draw sketches. He became the ranch's nominal artist and security guard because he was always the first to spot thieves trying to sneak in and steal cattle. Olivia became the technical director of Ethan and Sophia Cattle Company, spending all her time in her lab and busier than I am. One weekend evening, Shigu Village held a bonfire party. The flames crackled, illuminating everyone's smiling faces. Liam was surrounded by villagers, animatedly telling the story of how his father defeated the big monster. Sophia sat beside me, quietly watching the dancing flames. After a long while, she mustered her courage and asked me softly, "Ethan, can we start over?" I didn't answer immediately. I took from my pocket a neatly folded piece of paper. It was drawn by Liam. I opened it, and by the light of the fire, read aloud. Liam Family Contract. Article 1. Dad is responsible for earning money to support the family. Mom is responsible for being as beautiful as a flower, but housework must be done together. Whoever shirks will wash the dishes for a week. Article 2. Mom manages the city company. Dad manages the rural ranch. No interference in each other's internal affairs, but unconditional mutual support is required. I read this part, smiled, and looked at her. Rule number 3, I clear my throat. If Dad kisses Mom, he must reward Liam with the biggest tomahawk steak. As Sophia listened, she smiled, and then tears flowed down her face. She didn't say anything. She leaned in and kissed my lips. Not far away, sharp-eyed Liam immediately leapt up, pointed at us, and shouted, "Deal! My steak! Dad, you can't cheat!" The whole village burst into laughter, good-naturedly teasing. Noah excitedly took out his sketch pad, saying he wanted to create a great work for this moment of love and reconciliation. Olivia walked over smiling, clinked glasses with me, and genuinely congratulated me. Early the next morning, a brand new family RV pulled up to the ranch gate. Sophia stepped down from the vehicle, dressed in casual clothes, and smiled at me. The contract signed. It's time to fulfill our family duties. From now on, every weekend we'll drive this and take Liam on trips. In the sunlight, I held my overexcited son and looked at the woman by my side, her smile like a blossoming flower. In the distance were cows, leisurely grazing, and Noah sketching the cows' rumps. I knew my damnly happy new life had officially begun.